Previous episode, after reaching an agreement with Tu Tan, letting the people from the Love tribe go, Halin Zhao Huang casually took care of Ngu Duongchu, and then everyone went back to their own homes. Lai, Van Tu and Deep Pham were currently drifting in the outer space abyss after seeing the danger of this place clearly. Deep Pham did not dare to stay any longer. As soon as he took Lai Van Tu to the location, he immediately wanted to return to seclusion and cultivate. Lai Van Tu, on the other hand, continued to roam wildly in the Tai Ko Chi land. What surprised him was that in this place, he encountered an old acquaintance from his previous life, a Tier 9 master alchemist. After a while of trickery, Hai Han was tricked. He had to transmit his essence and teach him the soul refining technique. Furthermore, Hai Han was astonished. It was Li Yunxiao who understood, causing him to momentarily not know what to say. Hai Han was violently shaken inside, his eyes bulging in fear. He stammered, you, but can one truly understand the true meaning behind it? Lai Van Tu said that he also somewhat didn't understand. That's why he sought guidance and spoke about his method. He asked for your perspective, to see if we could study it together. If we can comprehend it, perhaps you will quickly step into the 9th layer of the soul's radiance. Gao Han licked his dry lips, only feeling. He felt a lump in his throat, choking on his words. He couldn't speak, and moreover, in his heart, he was extremely suspicious. The other person had pointed out these 3 places, and what's more, clearly explained the doubt. This completely proved that the other person understood, not just understood, but thoroughly grasped the reasoning. These 3 points were something he himself had never fully understood. It's really difficult. I previously studied spirit light, soul cultivation techniques. It took me 5 years to understand the principles and discover 3 points. This means that it would take 15 years for someone else to even begin to understand. Facing the high priest Han, he was momentarily stunned, speechless, not knowing what to say. Li Yunxiao's next sentence further shook his heart. Wants to jump out of the soul refining light. This technique must be from the early stage of the Golden Ink sect. It's hard to translate directly, so there are many places that can't be clearly translated or are translated with a different meaning. However, translating this type of script that contains hidden rules into a verbal formula is already extremely impressive. Li Yunxiao's eyes showed admiration. It is obvious to the translator. That person highly respects you. Everything is seen by you, and then perfected. Gao Han repeatedly said the word you. After that, he had no idea what he wanted to say. With a blank mind, Li Yunxiao quietly narrowed his eyes and smiled, also imitating Gao Han. He was lost in his own thoughts, sinking. I've been immersed in it for many years. I have my own explanation for these 3 suspicious places, otherwise, it would be impossible to cultivate the spirit light, soul body to the 8th level. A teenager. To think he would talk to me about studying spirit light soul cultivation together. I know, Elder Han. Afterwards, after a moment of silence, I slowly calmed myself down and probed, speaking cautiously. The top lawyer of the soul-devouring clan must be from Han Mountain. I know him, but even Tian Fu isn't as monstrous as you. Are you his disciple? He considered a possibility, that is, the other party must have a certain understanding of the soul refining technique of the starry light is even more advanced. It is confirmed that there is a grand master of refining techniques. A 9th tier master is very powerful and reliable. If it weren't for a small test, I wouldn't even be able to understand the starry light soul refining technique. Just reaching the outer realms of the void is already something that cannot be achieved. Li Yunxiao's heart was filled with a cold, mocking smile. Han clearly wanted more information from him. His methods were so naive. This alchemist spent all day immersed in refining, not understanding the ways of the world. He deliberately scowled, furious, saying, "What's it to you? Say another word and I'll take you down. He raised the soul-devouring fan to his face. The high-ranking official Han showed a continuous look of fear, backing away several steps. His expression now turned dark and uncertain. The more he looked, the more he felt that the youth's backing was Han Yinshan. His heart swelled with boundless anger. He silently gritted his teeth and ground out, Han Yinshan, you son of a bitch. You dare to have designs on the refined essence, my soul technique. Furthermore, it seems that you already had a plan, waiting for my return. I swear I will not let you off. Li Yunxiao didn't know what was in his heart, what he was thinking. He only urged, saying, hurry up and speak. Otherwise, if you don't explain it properly, don't blame me for the soul-devouring curse in my hand not being controlled and automatically activating. The soul of the golden-haired servant inside has not been fed for a long time. It hasn't tasted fresh soul essence for a while. The pill is so bitter, it makes my teeth grind. He knows the other side will not truly accept him. After all, the Han Mountain is just a means of cultivating a weak technique. By then, the two of them will meet and can always deny everything. This is also the reason he intentionally sending a young Mao-headed brat up. He might even directly ignore the guy. This brat will completely sever ties with him. But if I absorb the essence and soul of myself, the nature will be completely different. It will definitely be a situation where it's either death or endless struggle. At that point, I won't care whether he acknowledges it or not. I'm determined to risk it all with him. Even if the net is torn, under those extremely angry and resentful eyes, Gao Han explained his reasoning about those places after learning the person behind the opponent was Han Yinshan. He no longer had any intention of concealing it. After all, Han Yinshan was an existence no less powerful than himself. After hearing this, I also wonder if there is a problem with your gaze. Lai Van Tu's face showed an expression of horror after hearing this. Unable to help but praise, I didn't expect this, Master Yuan. I used to think you were foolish. That you could only rely on the heavenly reversal technique to cultivate to the 9th level like you have now. It seems you do have some talent after all. That's strange. At least explain these parts. Extraordinary and unique, Li Yunxiao smiled. He wasn't sure if it was a genuine compliment or a sarcastic remark, which made Han even more angry. Smoke was rising from the top of his head, and the ledger was fiercely etched with Han Yinshan's name. All because of this brat with a Mao-style haircut. Why does he have such a view of me? Surely, it is often said by Han Am's son that this little brat overheard and thus spoke it out loud. So, I ended up saying it without thinking. Can we leave now, Master Han? I just wish I could immediately return to my main body and then summon my forces to go to the soul-devouring sect and kill those soul bodies. But my current location is too far from my main body. Everything that happened in this world, there's no way to know, unless this body and soul is destroyed. Only then, upon destruction, can this body receive all information from the soul. This is also the reason why Han Mountain didn't dare kill me. Poor Han Mountain, without understanding, brought down upon itself a huge trouble. Wait a moment, Li. Van Shao smiled and waved to the guard. Han suddenly became furious, thinking the other party had changed their mind. He trembled with rage, saying, You're truly skilled. I absolutely must kill you all. I will go to the soul-devouring sect and wipe them all out. Li Yunxiao laughed derisively. Don't get excited. I will let you go, but I still have a few questions to ask you. You've been cultivating in the outer starry realm for so long. How did you get here, Shi Yuan? How did you get here, Shi Yuan? Gao Han saw that Li Yunxiao didn't seem to be trying to deceive him. He was originally a soul body. His senses, particularly regarding emotions and auras, were extremely sensitive. Only now did he understand. He gently exhaled and said, There's a great formation within the sacred realm that transmits, directly transmitted to the extraterrestrial realm. My soul body is unlike the original. It wasn't directly transmitted to cultivate here. I've been directly cultivating here for 10 years. Li Yunxiao was startled and said, no wonder. No wonder your soul body has reached the 8th level. It's likely you're not far from the 9th level. By then, once you complete the soul fusion, you can directly reach the peak of wind technique Dao, but inside his heart, he was also worried that the sacred realm could directly transmit to this place. Truly unexpected, Li Yunxiao lightly smiled and continued to ask, so you must be very familiar with the situation here, right? I want to know about the ancient times. Where is the primordial gale? What? You ask, what is this? Han Yuan's face changed, a look of fear appeared. Li Yunxiao was overjoyed, he followed his every word. You certainly know. Quickly tell me. Han Yuan was stunned for a moment, then immediately showed an unconcerned expression. He said this wasn't a secret. The primordial gale. The place is thousands of miles away, you should follow the direction of this wind and stars, and you might reach that place, which is a vast, ancient battlefield, boundless and desolate. In the primal lands, there are rules that govern the appearance of the field, and once it appears, it forms a domain that envelopes the entire battlefield, casting all living beings into it. When touched, it will instantly turn into a corpse, completely dry, without exception. Understood now, Lai. Van Tu said, I still had doubts, but you did. How did you manage to return? I've examined the area around here, and there's no large teleportation formation. The teleportation formation of the holy domain should be a single-way teleportation, right? Doesn't it, Gao Han? I said it clearly. My body now, although I can't feel everything happening to me, there's still a coordinate connection between us. I just need to use the space-time transposition technique for a very short time to return. A very short time. Li Yunxiao raised an eyebrow and said, even so, I still can't let you off so easily. Alright, if I release you back to your original form, you will immediately know everything that happened. Here, then open the grand formation, transmitting song, locking the realm, sending a large number of experts here. Then, won't I be doomed? The high-ranking Han, his heart seething, said, you're seeing right through me. So, what must I do to make you release me? Li Yunxiao chuckled, I just wanted to go see the ancient Thai martial arts performance. Come with me this once. Wait, when we return, I'll release you, Yuan Gao Han. His face changed drastically. Fearfully, he said, no. Absolutely not. Don't go. That place is the elemental abyss, a place of certain death. Li Yunxiao said, you are my external manifestation. What are you afraid of, Yuan Gao Han? Yuan Gao Han looked at him coldly and said indifferently, what do you know? Consider it as the body. Even if it transforms, it cannot stop the consumption of the elemental force of your essence. You want to die? I'm not stupid like that. Li Yun frowned and said, is it really that terrifying? In that case, I need you to lead the way. The face of Yen Gao Han became ashen, and he looked horrified. Don't be so angry. Don't go too far. Otherwise, I'll die anyway. Even if I risk my life, I still want to kill you. Tears streamed down his face. His suppressed rage erupted at that moment. The surrounding space twisted to its limit. A large amount of starlight was swallowed. Powerful, strange energy. Normally, with his strength, he could easily kill Li. Li Van Tu also smiled bitterly. He simply didn't have the power to fight with his opponent. He could only hold the soul-devouring disc in his hand and try to intimidate him a bit. He immediately licked his lips viciously and threatened. Heh, your soul power is really strong. I like my soul slave's golden color, but I'm afraid he can't eat that much. I could also Refine several soul nourishment pills and elixirs. Han's face is pale. Soul nourishment pills are a special type of pill unique to the soul-devouring clan. As the name suggests, they are food for soul slaves, but they are made from refined souls. He's afraid because of. And the surrounding space trembled with me. My voice hoarse, I roared, "You are a beast, a faithless creature. If anything happens to me, my true form will instantly sense it. Not only that, it will immediately open the teleportation formation to take your life. Even the soul-devouring clan will be eradicated." Li Yunxiao looked coldly at. "See how coldly," he said, "I'm going to die in the ancient wind anyway, so what am I afraid of? As for the soul-devouring clan, we're all going to die. The sex related to me, they're all finished. What nonsense. You, this arrogant, hot-headed, I've never seen such a thug before. He's always been a person of high status, unless it's a few beings of equal standing. What rank are you that you dare to speak to him like that?" He immediately choked, unable to know what to say. Li Yunxiao saw his anger instantly turn into a flushed face. He spoke calmly. "On one hand, the Grandmaster is completely demoted, becoming an artifact, refinement master. On the other hand, it's a risky gamble with me. Furthermore, the ancient emperor, the very land is the battlefield of the ancient power, leaving behind many strange treasures. Could it be that you're not tempted? Yuan Gao also has some temptation. 5 years ago, he went to the extraterrestrial void and made some extremely strange discoveries. Furthermore, he obtained quite a few good things, but the dangers are extraordinary. If it weren't for closed-door cultivation, he should have returned to the main body directly. Instead, he brought a master here. Humph. Even if you're moved, even if you have something good, could you possibly share it with me? Don't covet my possessions. I should be thanking heaven and earth. Withdraw that threatening gaze. You dare not kill me." I know Li Yunxiao well. I couldn't help but laugh and said, "If that's the case, I can swear to the soul-devouring seal. As long as you help me get to the ancient abyssal wind, whatever benefits are there, they'll be yours. Moreover, once the task is completed, I will definitely let you go. If not, the golden soul inside the soul-devouring seal will perish and never listen to my commands again." Han Yuan's expression changed. He knew that the devouring soul clan's oath to the devouring Soul King was the most solemn promise, of utmost importance to the soul slaves in the devouring soul clan. It was the same as his soul essence, which he had begun to refine. From the lowest level, overcoming countless difficulties to reach his current state. "I agree to your request, but on the road, everyone must be on equal footing. You can't intimidate me, Han Yuan Gao. I feel being threatened like this by a junior. My face feels very uncomfortable." Li Yunxiao not only received the star-refining soul technique, but also pulled in a powerful guide. He nodded and said that was natural, "Sir. You are a senior in the Tai Shan North martial arts. I wouldn't even dare to disrespect you." Look at Li Yunxiao's sincere and respectful gaze. After his surprise, Han rubbed his eyes. He wished he could punch that hateful face. After the two spoke, After the two had a pleasant conversation, running towards the Fenglinguan Gao Han. "I actually feel extremely curious about the extraterrestrial void. But the priority is breaking through to the 9th level of the soul body. That's why I delayed going down, and didn't conduct a quick exploration. I've already seen many traces of artificial creation appearing before the two of us, extremely strange rocks, large with various types of murals, of course, a huge palace site on the ground. There's no shortage of broken weapons, scattered on several large stone pillars within the palace site, engraved with various patterns. Those sturdy, powerful swordsmanship engravings alone give one a feeling of something far from simple." Li Yunxiao pondered. His eyes stared intently, unwilling to miss a single detail. In that instant, Dongzi recoiled slightly, discovering on this large stone slab traces of man-made damage. It wasn't the kind of damage. From the beginning, it was clearly later, deliberately obliterated by someone using powerful force, unwilling to let anyone see its contents. Those marks were clearly. This is. Li Yunxiao turned his head and said, "What was written on the Hai Han pill earlier?" He added, "What was in Hai Han pill's mind?" Hai Han jumped up and hurriedly said, "How would I know?" But his flustered expression couldn't escape Li Yunxiao's eyes. He laughed, "Haha, Master Yuan, if you've already told me, let's cooperate and search. To search for the secrets of the extraterrestrial abyss. You shouldn't hide it from the curator either." Chao Han snorted angrily and said, "I never thought you would force my hand. Besides, I've only been here for 5 years. Look at this damage, Li Yun. It's been at least 100 years. Xiao thought for a moment, then coldly snorted. "Don't treat me like a fool from ancient Thailand. In this place, apart from the Holy Realm, there is only the transmission formation technique, and the 10,000 ancient Chongqing tree on the demon origin, which can open a space-time passage. Even though it was erased 100 years ago by someone, it was still a good deed done by the Holy Realm. Don't tell me you don't know about it. Our cooperation is to guard against each other and keep secrets like this." "Humph, then we can only break our vow." Chao Han was startled. Although it was only his soul, he still felt a chill running through his body. Why is this young man so sharp? The feeling when talking to him is just like talking to a grandmaster. Such a rank, whether it's observation skills or language, is not something an ordinary teenager could speak of. Moreover, his body, at the 8th level, can easily see through this teenager's state. This is definitely not something normal, and he's not possessed by any divine will. Could it be that the soul-devouring clan has produced an unparalleled genius? His wariness towards the soul-devouring tribe is even deeper. No wonder Han Yin was willing to take the risk and offend me. He still wanted to gain this young man's favor. He spoke angrily. "All right then. You really are quite clever." The carvings on these large stones were indeed destroyed by someone from the Holy Realm. As for the contents on them, you already know. Li Yun, raise your eyebrows. His voice dropped, hard to understand, implying something profound. Han gave a bitter laugh. He said, "These large stones are the origin of the soul-refining light technique." Li Yunxiao was stunned, gazing in astonishment at the destroyed giant stones all around, incredibly shocked. He exclaimed, "So the soul-refining light technique was derived from here. These components of these giant stones are far from ordinary. It's not like it happened naturally. It must have been in ancient times. The soul-refining technique of the starry light was an extremely unpredictable and profound method." Han felt a pang of heartache and anger. Just thinking about the soul-refining technique of the starry light, he coldly said, "Do you still need to mention those classics? Using crude methods to record them." The Peerless expert, Lai Van Shao, lightly leaped onto the top of the great stone slab and sat down. He settled down comfortably, then waved his hand towards Elder Han, saying, "Elder, come sit. Tell me about the Golden Literature Department. You've been in the sacred realm for many years, so you must possess considerable information, Elder." Elder Han opened his mouth wide in that manner. "Li Yunxiao's like an old friend of mine, feel free to call me whatever. Furthermore, the strangest thing is, I don't feel uncomfortable. On the contrary, I feel very peaceful. This is a situation that has never appeared before on a young boy. Although they are the heavens' favored sons, and officially on the mainland, seeing me, anyone who doesn't bow and show respect, doesn't even open their mouth, basically doesn't dare to say anything, let alone call themselves an old master, and even holding the soul-devouring blade to intimidate me." Luo Li tried to persuade me further, but in his heart, he wanted to get angry. though for some reason, he just couldn't bring himself to do it. It felt like it should have always been this way. He suppressed his curiosity. Han Yinshan values you so much. He must have told you a lot about this, right? I've looked over some of it before, but I know it's extraordinary. Han Yinshan's master said that in the martial arts world, the most researched things are the sacred realm and the transformation god sea. Li Yunxiao said something similar. I told him to call Han Yinshan master. I really felt a little wronged. I coldly thought to myself about Han Yinshan. You took advantage of me before. I will take back the principle and interest next time. Indeed, he is a disciple of Han Yinshan. Han Yinshan had already made up his mind at this moment. Only then did he show a tolerant and understanding expression, saying, the commonly used script of ours now is only used for exchanging information, but in ancient times, there existed a type of script that not only could exchange information, but also could condense the rules of heaven and earth itself. These characters, like tadpoles, contain not only certain information, but also represent specific rules of heaven and earth. Li Yun secretly felt a little impatient. He interrupted, saying, I already know these basic things. Tell me something more profound. He then said to Koying and the implication of these texts, has anyone compiled a specific number yet? How many characters has the sacred realm deciphered so far? High Elder Han was stunned. He pondered and said, these texts are. Its origin is inconclusive, but it can be definitively stated that it is certainly related to the divine realm powerhouses of the ancient times. Even some speculate that these texts contain secrets about the 10 directions divine realm. The 10 directions, divine realm. Li Yunxiao's heart violently leaped. He too had a similar prediction. His heart pounded violently. He also had such a prediction. Although it has been known from the beginning the existence of this type of script, I have never thoroughly studied it in alchemy. On the other hand, there is a 9th-rank alchemist who quietly researches this all day long. Indeed, he is the vice president of the Alchemist Guild, the assistant to the Emperor's Fire Mage, and the deputy of Ba Li Gong's Pill Master, Yen. He must certainly be familiar with it. There is no small satisfaction. One day I must visit the Bai room to reach perfection. Gao Han showed a regretful expression and sighed. That's right, the 10 directions divine realm, tens of thousands of years have passed, and only a few individuals from the legends are said to have reached this level, but it's hard to know whether it's true or false. There are no records left on the continent at all. So, in the sacred realm, are there any statistics on the total number of these texts? How many have you deciphered? Dongzi Li Yunxiao asked, his expression slightly stiff. This was the question that weighed most heavily on his mind. Gao Han was internally shocked, looking at Li Yunxiao. These were things that were top secret. Even he didn't know the details. He deliberately probed, mentioning Han's hidden mountain. He then broke down the clues Li Yunxiao revealed. A sinister smile stretched across Soul Devouring's face. How about this, he said, we exchange information. Is that acceptable, young Master Han? Han's face drastically changed, his forehead was devoid of blood. I don't know anything, he said. Don't ask me, he pleaded. Li Yunxiao saw this. He reacted so violently internally, bitterly laughing to himself. The other party definitely didn't believe he knew this kind of script. Fearing coercion or enticement, he looked towards the ruins, saying, it seems this place has long been swept clean by the Sagittarius sacred realm. Except for the murals, there's nothing to be gained. And those murals are fragmented and incomplete. How to piece together a complete story? Perhaps it's about a few sacrificial offerings. What lies ahead is a vast ruin. The entire area is filled with ruins of similar architectural style from ancient times. This place was probably once the residence of a clan or some tribe, but for some unknown reason, it turned into a battlefield. Throw it into the depths of outer space. These structures, though severely damaged, must have been destroyed years ago. Despite numerous years of wear, they haven't lost any more integrity. That means this place doesn't have any ancient power left. Lai Van turned around, staring intently at the sphere. He waited for him to explain the sphere. Han was secretly horrified by his observation skills, pretending not to hear anything. Li Yunxiao coldly snorted, raising the soul-devouring fan and waving it before Han. Han immediately stopped pretending, hurriedly saying, You really have no patience at all. These sacred grounds have been thoroughly investigated many times. These sacred grounds have been searched many times already. These sacred grounds have been searched many times already. In the hidden, some books record a few speculations about the formation of this relic fragment. In the outer region, along with the situation of the Tai, ancient power inside. The most credible theory is that when the ancient Tai Chi plate was thrown into the outer void, it still carried a violent force that wreaked havoc across it. After these forces, this balanced amount created the most primal gale wind, destroying all the structures on this land at that time. One or several powerful figures couldn't bear to see this land destroyed, so they combined their strength to open a space to imprison that gale wind within. Over countless years, it transformed into an all-encompassing gale. Li Yunxiao raised an eyebrow and said, "What a ridiculous guess. If he had the ability to imprison the gale, he would have buried it. If it was to protect the ruins, there's no need to bother imprisoning it. Direct annihilation wouldn't be better? Why bother with these things? The gale, where is that Fong imprisoned, High Official Han?" He was stunned, reflecting. It seemed quite logical. He looked strangely at Li Yunxiao above. He didn't speak, directly above Li Yunxiao. Following his finger, he looked into the void. Not a single ray of light. Occasionally, a shooting star streaked across the silent sky, incredibly peaceful. There wasn't a trace of wind within. Tam's heart stirred, saying he was bound by the rules of power. Fong's high-ranking official, Han, became increasingly astonished. He casually pointed to a direction, and could already see the tricks. The type of historical review and analytical ability was truly terrifying. In his heart, a thought of investigation arose. He wondered if he could see the rules. What power is not evident on Li Yunxiao's face? Hesitation is reflected in his gaze towards the starry sky. He frowns, saying, "Definitely not starlight. Could it be the wild power of the wind? The fierce wind in the endless night. On second thought, it's not a bad choice. My soul power is too low, I can't sense it. I can only guess." A high level. Han showed a cheerful expression, saying, "It's not just beauty. But the fact that you could think of this point truly makes one admire you. It's not just beauty. If it were, it would truly be strange." Yunxiao's actions piqued my interest immensely. I'm curious, I want to see a glimpse of the hidden truth. Han was about to speak. Li Yunxiao quickly covered his mouth. He said it wasn't spiritual energy, nor, under this starry sky, there are still rules. What power could conceal the element? A power like the ancient primordial wind, silent. Suddenly, a bright light appeared in Li Yunxiao's eyes. He said, "I know. Could it be the power of time? This time, it's Yuan's turn." Chao Han was terrified and pale, his heart shaken. He felt the storm rising, his whole body stiffening, and he stared blankly at Li Yunxiao, his mouth agape. He said, "How could you possibly have guessed this? Even Han Amson might not necessarily know such a rule of the heavens and time." Indeed, in Li Yunxiao's eyes, he saw the stars shining brightly. Chao Han stared in shock, his eyes reflecting the vast sky full of stars. Of course, it's the most difficult time to understand. The previous generation's wind. This ancient Tai Kung Fong, naturally. Undoubtedly, it exists in the divine realm. The power within it can be considered ancient Tai Kung Fong. It can bury even stars. Why, do you still want to proceed with sealing the High Priest Han? He was also stunned for a moment by this kind of problem. He never thought he would be in this situation, as mentioned by Li Yunxiao. He felt something was wrong. His previous guesses now seemed even more absurd. How should he solve this? Li Yunxiao, looking at the high priest Han, he voiced his doubts. In truth, he was only curious. Only then did the high priest Han recover his spirit, even towards Li Yunxiao. Didn't dare to show any contempt. He said there was no way to break the seal now. His spiritual energy was extremely low, only enough to seal the gale for 12 hours. Only if the 3 stars, Feng Lang, Qingyu, and the great dog star, aligned, would a beam of starlight shoot down and open it. The time according to that will appear ancient. High-ranking official Han pointed towards the 3 large stars. Only Feng Lang star and the great void star are already on a straight line, but Jade Husband star is also moving closer. We still need a certain amount of time to reach Li Yun. Xiao stopped at those 3 stars and asked 3 stars, gathering at one path, it seems to be at the hour of tea, it says, like that. The ancient Tai Tsung Feng style, every 12 hours, will appear once. Ah, but the time of appearance isn't long because only with the 3 stars shooting down, and spiritual chi power can one open the time restriction. I'm very surprised. You want to find that Tsung Feng for what purpose? Whatever you want to do with that Tsung Feng, even something like me, a spirit body, will be directly eroded if you want to borrow the wind's power to cultivate. I advise you not to even dream of it, to avoid death and the dissipation of your cultivation. Although Elder Han doesn't have a good feeling towards Li Yunxiao, he still somewhat cherishes his talent, so he couldn't help but advise. Hey, I will. Don't do anything you're not sure about. If every 12 hours, it will appear once. Then we don't need to be too hasty. Let's observe a little more and talk later. Li Yunxiao himself isn't clear on the key point, which is that the divine mystic realm's spiritual energy is exhausted. Although he has the earthly yielding, it may be possible to proceed with collecting the ancient primordial essence. Feng couldn't tell whether or not he went directly under a broken pillar, sat down cross-legged, silently waiting for the high-ranking Han. His curiosity about Li Yunxiao's calm demeanor grew even stronger. It seemed like even he couldn't do any better, and the more he interacted with Li Yunxiao, the more it gave him a feeling of familiar, yet no matter what, he couldn't remember any more, which made him even more startled. He was Li Yunxiao. The moment he sat on the stone pillar, he became silent and still, directly merging into his surroundings, reaching a kind of realm where his Tao and nature were unified. Every word, every movement that the young man before him exhibited, they're all like old monsters who have lived for hundreds of years. He didn't expect him to dare to be so bold and cultivate with peace of mind. Could it be that he doesn't fear me seizing the opportunity to take his life? Han Yuan felt it hard to understand. Although the opponent has the soul-devouring 9th grade in his hands, under these circumstances of merging with heaven and earth, I use an 8th grade soul force strike, a full power attack, almost 100% power. It could be considered a life or death blow. What is he relying on to be so powerful? Does he still have a hidden trump card? I don't understand why Elder Han several times couldn't help but want to make a move, but ultimately he held back. He doesn't know either what happened, what the origins of this calamity are, or perhaps from enjoying the youth. After a fierce struggle, finally, he managed to endure it and sat cross-legged. After Li Yunxiao sat down, he directly entered the divine mystery realm. The world inside was increasingly dark and gloomy, like a deflating balloon. The rivers, mountains, grass, and trees were all withered, like the end. Lam furrowed his brow. The situation was even worse than he had thought. Killing the enemy would result in 1,000 self-inflicted wounds, approximately this kind of situation. Although the main axis was broken, Chaos Heaven's secret was disrupted, but he himself was also trapped in an impossible predicament, as if the end of the world. Li Yunxiao swung his hand, and many original stones soared into the air. Everything. All were obtained from Tanla and money, neatly arranged into a large shape, a giant cube in mid-air, like a small mountain. He began to carve the formations on all four sides. A large amount of raw stones, each one extremely carefully placed, hovered on all sides. The raw stones shimmered with golden light, expanding in all directions, a vast expanse of the sky. The golden light flickered after everything was completed. Li Yun's thoughts stirred, and as soon as his mind moved, several beams of light fell around him. Indeed, all the beings at the martial emperor level, within the divine realm of Baiduanyu music, Jiu Lin, along with 3 people from the sacred flame palace, and even Zijuohang and Gu Yueshing. He was also summoned by that bastard, Zhao Huan. "Ha, you little brat. You really have a way. Otherwise, if you didn't take out some spirit stones, I would be close to dying of thirst." Duanyu laughed loudly, and then rushed forward. The overwhelming energy that erupted from him made him wish he could gulp it down. Just inhaling a few breaths, he already felt his body and spirit refreshed. "I hadn't taken a few steps when Li Yunxiao stopped me. He said that this time, the divine realm orb has something to attend to. He said later he'll need everyone's united efforts to help him absorb the primordial energy. These primordial stones are used to maintain the divine realm orb's operation. The method of operating the formation, I will now teach you all." Everyone was stunned. "It's not very clear." Due can only try his best. Noyet Sin's face changed dramatically, and she took a deep breath. In fear, she said, "Tai Gu's Gung Feng is. The wind element of Tai Gu is invincible, unbreakable. Tai Gu's Gung Feng." On Li Yunxiao's face, there was no expression. He nodded and said, "Yes, it's indeed Tai Gu's Gung Feng. Although the divine realm's spiritual energy completely vanished, but we have the great earth. Thus, the capital can stabilize all things, increasing. With everyone's support, there is confidence. We can definitely absorb the primeval energy." Feng Guiyusheng, upon hearing this, was greatly shocked, but his expression remained calm. He said, "Why should we help you? When will you release us?" He asked the question everyone cared about most. Everyone looked at Li Yunxiao in astonishment. Li Yunxiao revealed a pitiful appearance. Li Yunxiao smiled and said, "Look at everyone's expressions. If this absorption of the ancient era gale wind is successful, then I can let you all leave. But if I fail, you can all rest assured to stay here and break through. But if I fail, you can rest easy here and make your breakthroughs. If it fails, you can all rest assured to stay here and make your breakthroughs." Reached the peak of martial emperor, personally shattering the void. "No, let's go." A cold, icy voice echoed in everyone's hearts. Next, only the sound of several people gulping could be heard. All right. We must figure out how to coordinate. Speak clearly. Don't leave anything out." At this moment, even Gu Yusheng is anxious. More than Li Yunxiao absorbing the ancient profound energy is extremely dangerous, but at least there's a glimmer of hope. Being trapped here means I can only watch time slip away each day. It's enough to drive one mad. Li Yunxiao, returning to his body, took out some primordial stones and slowly absorbed them. While muttering, he chatted casually with Elder Han. He placed great importance on the changes over the past 15 years. Even for peak powerhouses on the mainland, it wasn't immediately clear. He immediately extracted quite a bit of information from Elder Han's mouth. That is, Elder Han didn't hide any of the new secrets. He knew. He spoke frankly, without deception or omission. He told everything he knew. Inside, it also felt quite strange to speak with Li Yunxiao, as if talking to an old friend, completely, without any barrier of age, cultivation level, or social status. At the same time, what shocked him was the speed at which Li Yunxiao absorbed spiritual energy. Every piece he took out was a medium-grade origin stone. A single sweep, and there is not a trace left of the primal powder that fell to the ground. His divine sense subtly shifted, and he could immediately sense the vital energy within, almost entirely depleted. This rate of absorption of the primal force caused his expression to change, becoming grim. He spoke, "How did you do this?" But to be able to completely absorb a primal stone in such a short time, Li Yunxiao, he just absorbed half a primal stone and was surprised and stunned for a moment, then smiled, saying, "What method is needed? Shouldn't it be sucked into the meridians, running through the celestial cycle, then returning to the Dantian?" The stone. Gao Han frowned and stared intently at Li Yunxiao's right hand. Slowly said, "This method seems extremely similar to a type of cultivation technique." Li Yunxiao's heart leaped. He carefully probed. "What cultivation technique?" Han Yuan raised his head, staring intently into Li Yunxiao's eyes. After a while, he spoke each word clearly: "The transformation of one qi, the decision of the ancient breaking army martial emperor." Feiyang laughed. "How could that be, Li Yunxiao?" He gave a dry chuckle, his face turning sullen. He said, "I heard that this cultivation method of the old master Feiyang has long been lost. Han Yuan seems to be extremely envious of this martial art." He said, "It's lost, but it's not completely lost. The martial art was broken by the martial emperor Feiyang cultivated 15 years ago, after the death of old Feiyang. At least a few of his disciples still mastered this kind of cultivation technique." A gleam of light flashed in Li Yunxiao's eyes as he smiled and said, "This technique is so powerful. If that old Feiyang was really so skilled, he would have died long ago. The sacred realm, you wouldn't have any interest in a few." His disciple, Han Yuan Gao's face changed. With a stern face, he said, "The Lam Tuet holy city is the holy land where the world's martial artists gather, supporting righteous energy, punishing the wicked throughout the land. How could a place upholding justice and goodness do such petty, villainous things?" Li Yunxiao's face was full of disdain, showing a look of utter contempt. "Humph," the cold voice said, "your words just now. Dare you guarantee that just by saying those words, I will immediately believe you?" Han Gao's face flushed slightly with shame and anger. "Humph," he said fiercely, "little brat, what do you know?" He lifted his head and looked at the 3 distant stars, his gaze gradually focused. "Quickly, prepare to go. Li Yunxiao will also be there immediately." Looking back, the 3 stars of the Wind Beast and Jade Master, the Great Hound, suddenly became brighter. Normally, there is a lot of yellow energy, which is faint like candlelight, gradually growing brighter. From their perspective, looking back, the 2 stars of the Wind Beast and Jade Master had completely disappeared. After the Great Hound's 3 stars converged into one, it seemed to contain some kind of hidden rule or energy. The immense energy spread out in all directions, and the starlight gradually diffused, expanding further. Then, a beam of starlight from the farthest point of the starfield was emitted, forming a straight line toward the target. It was the very ruin where Lai Van Tu was standing. The powerful starlight passed through the starfield and seemed to peer straight ahead. Through the layers of time and space, it represents the immense power within the ultimate universe. The world applies the Chu Tian star to fight for the peak of martial arts. The extreme arrangement of time seals is set. What kind of existence is this, right now? Even Li Yunxiao at this moment felt a certain emotion as he gazed, as if looking up at the peak of martial arts in the 9 heavens. A large gate, flickering with light, slowly opened before him. His eyes suddenly stopped, looking towards the high priest Han. At this moment, he felt no fear, but rather, elation. His cultivation was precisely the starlight soul refining technique, a divine art that channeled the power of starlight. That starlight power, like 100 rivers converging, the vast ocean, supplements his body, making him feel incredibly comfortable. Lai Van Tu felt the joyful mood of Chao Han, but he furrowed his brow as his mental techniques, and the soul-refining technique gradually appeared in his mind, a pure soul master, with no impurities, the true eternal tribulation. The one who knows all and achieves everything. His spirit soared within his body. A strange sensation arose within his body, a surging feeling of intense desire, a yearning to absorb that delicious food. In that instant, his two eyes, Li Yunxiao's, returned to normal, their brilliance flashing over his body. He slightly closed his eyes, allowing his body to fully absorb this power. Long was also terrified. He opened his eyes, in disbelief. He looked at the refined essence Hui had shot down. He was overjoyed, speechless, muttering, "It truly is the excellent ancient Feiyang cultivation technique. Damn it, you're incredibly lucky. All the good fortune in the entire Tianwu world has been monopolized by you." The soul-refining technique's brilliance is also unmatched. Where's your great manifestation divine decision? I have a type of Dharma that can absorb starlight, supplementing soul power. After that, ultimately, I won't need to cultivate my soul anymore. Li Yunxiao muttered to himself, his face filled with immense joy. Han Yuan, beside him, suddenly felt a tremor in his heart. He recovered his composure, going from enjoyment to shock. Looking at Lai Vantu, he realized that the other person was also, just like him, devouring the spiritual light. Furthermore, the speed was terrifying, even surpassing his own. A storm began to rise in his heart. Tan shouted, You.